Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Heather and John this morning on the Say Yes show. So happy to be here with all of you, especially on a Friday. I think it looks nice outside. It's not like it was on Wednesday, dark and gloomy, but it is definitely feeling like winter.
It's getting there. It's getting there. Of course, we're in Canada, so that's what you expect, right?
Yeah. Well, especially this time of year, and I know Halloween's just around the corner, and hopefully it stays a little bit warm for the kiddies that are going to be going door to door, because I think it's going to be like the first time in almost 3 years that they're going to be able to do that, right? Because everything else has been canceled over the years. I know for the first time I'm in a house, so my neighbors on my street, it's incredible to see how creative they are in terms of, like I walked by somebody's yard last night and it creeped me out. So they did a great job. I'm like, I don't know if I'm an adult and I know this stuff is all made up, but I'm like,
I don't like being scared. So that's, I like being scared when I'm in control. So there's a little bit of a control issue, but when somebody can maybe pop out and touch me, no, that's too much. That's too much.
Well, so that's exactly it. That's what I'm anticipating as I'm like walking by and I see this Michael Myers looking thing like in the yard with Anyways, they did a fantastic job. So my neighbors who are listening to this, if you are listening to this, congratulations, you've done an amazing job, and kudos to you for saying yes to getting ready for Halloween. I can only imagine what Christmas is going to look like.
Oh my God, that's crazy. John, I just want to jump in. Good morning, David. Thank you for your comment. It's good to see you on here and joining us for a really good conversation, because I think we're going to dive a little bit into priming, and we're going to talk a little bit about mindset, which actually David Fairweather is an expert in mindset. So yeah, let's jump into it, John.
Yeah, so this week's been an exciting week. There's been a few things that showed up, but specifically, actually, I don't know how we're going to compress an hour's worth of content into the time that we have, but we're going to do our best.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are listening or watching this for the first time, I've taken on a role as now the director of the Toronto Power Group. Yay for me! Scared.
You said yes. You said yes to that. I love it.
I did say yes because it's an amazing community. It's an amazing tribe. It's really people who think differently. And I know you're the one who told me in our first meeting together that I should go check out the Toronto Power Group.
I did. And now you're the director. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I love how things just flow.
Yeah. Now that you say it like that, it's like,
ooh,
yeah, yes. It just kind of sat with me in a way. I said yes to going to the first meeting, and now I'm saying yes to being the director. And we're trying to pull this group together after almost a 2-year absence, just because of what's been happening. And I know they're very big on going live, but anyways, we're doing virtual for the next 2 months. So this month, next month, and then we're doing our board breaking event in January. So I know, Heather, you got to come out. You got to say yes to that one for sure.
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
It's where you break through your beliefs. I'm very excited about that. And so, anyways, going back to the Toronto Power Group. This past Wednesday, we held our first meeting in a while, and we brought an NLP master trainer, as he would say, super NLP guy, who NLP, for those of you that are just new to the concept, is neuro-linguistic programming. And it's really understanding how our brain works and then leveraging all the tools and influences that influence our brain to work the way we want to work. I don't know if that's the right description of it. But there are things outside of us that are constantly influencing us. Yes, David, it was powerful. It was incredible. And I've been through an NLP program a few times because I know the power of it. And every time I go through it, there's something new that I learn. And just the simple concept of priming, and I know it's just one little concept, but essentially it's this, right? How we set up ourselves. This is going to be complicated. So how we prepare here impacts us here. So for example, if you wake up in the morning thinking you're going to have an awful, horrible day, well, guess what? The rest of your day is going to be awful and horrible because that's how you've primed yourself. And the thing is, we are constantly being primed by our environment. We're constantly being primed by the things that we watch and we listen to, the media. This is why I tell people, and people always get upset at me, I say, don't watch the news. If you are going to watch the news, take snippets and then get away. But don't sit there and don't live in it. because it's priming you, right? And you think about what's happening in the media right now, it's priming you with anxiety, fear, recession, interest rates. Like it feels like the world's falling apart, right?
Stop talking about it, John. It's first thing for the morning. You're priming me for a shit day. I don't want it. Sure, stop.
All right, we're gonna take it off. Take it off.
But you're onto something here, because these silly little things like put a stick-it note on your bathroom mirror and with an affirmation on it. It sounds hokey, but if you read that every single day as the first thing that you did before you wake up, I had one that we both put on our phones, which is every day I'm getting better and better and better, and that was for the healing of my knee and my body, and it was for your healing as well. And that's what we fed our minds and our bodies with this good love. And there's all these science is out there, right? You talk to a plant nicely, you talk to a plant not nicely, which one grows? I think it's just the silliest thing, but this is what happens. It's true. You can see it out there.
So it's not silly, because I did this with the plant in front of my old place, right? So when I moved this here, and a few years ago when we moved into our a few years ago, 10 years ago, a decade ago, we moved into our place, we did our front patio thing, and we planted the cedar tree in front, right? And I remember the power of speaking to plants, right? There's something to it. I know it does. It sounds a little hokey, but it's true, because they feed off energy, right? So my plant was dying, right? And you could see it was all turning brown and everything was kind of falling off. And so I sat there for a minute and I talked to it. I'm like, hey, we love you. We want you to be here with us. We want you to shine. And it was actually two limbs, right? One had actually died off completely, and the other one was on its way to dying. And so I spoke with it, and I said, look, I need you to be here for us. You make our house beautiful. There's so many contributions that you give to us. And if there's anything that we can do, we watered it, put a little bit of fertilizer on it. Can I tell you, within a couple of weeks, this thing came back to life. It was full, it was green, it was light. And I'm like, I looked at my wife and I said, how? I go, well, she asked me, how did that happen? I said, well, I spoke to it, right? I gave it good energy. It's like why these people go out and they hug trees, right? Because energy, it goes both ways, right? And so I went
John the tree whisperer. I love it. But here's the thing, John, there's so many metaphors in what you just described, but every word that you said, you're actually saying it to yourself at the same time. So when you give feedback to someone, when you tell someone, hey, you make my life beautiful, whether it's a tree or a person, you're also acknowledging the beauty within your own life. And that message, again, goes into your head, goes into priming. And then what do? You see the beauty. You saw the beauty in its regrowth. What if you didn't even see that?
Yeah. Well, and so if it works for plants, imagine what it does for humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And how many times do we, even jokingly, right? And my wife catches me sometimes, and sometimes I joke around with the kids, and we say certain things to one another. And she's like, you're the one who's always talking to me about, the importance of words and language and essentially priming. And here you are, joking around in a not so good light. You're right? So you almost need, for me, and I am, for the most part, I'm pretty good. I always use, have positive intentions in and around, when I'm interacting with people, even when I'm joking with them. But it's got to be positive, because it does impact your subconscious at a much deeper level, at a level. And this is what we learned again this week on Wednesday. It happens at an unconscious level.
Yeah, I have a great story that actually shows that. So I was working with a client this week, and I asked him to describe how he's feeling. And he described the feeling of being rolled up in a carpet and duct taped. I'm like, wow, that's like a visual. And when I work with clients, and John and even David, you guys know this, we can't wear someone else's feelings. If we let that in, it will consume us as well. And the symbols of someone's life could become the symbols of ours. And I guess I didn't do a good job of shaking it off and making sure that I was Teflon for that moment. Because literally I walk out my door and my neighbor has rolled up carpet with duct tape, like right on the door. And I'm like, oh, like I don't need this symbol in my life, right? And I had to go to the positive symbols, which was magnets and magnetic energy and attracting what you want. And so I was like, okay, I have to visualize the magnets. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I need my own symbols. And like I have all the tools to release this stuff. And even I was having trouble letting this damn carpet go. And like, and I'm telling my husband Patrick, I'm like, oh, this carpet, like, and he's like, yeah, what's up with the carpet? I'm like, I can't talk about it because then I'm just activating it more, and I'm activating it now. Like you can see, I'm getting all anxious about this damn carpet. But this is the same as watching TV, the same as hearing the news, the same as listening to friends or family that are saying things that you don't believe to be true or are trying to keep you small and safe when you just want to grow and flourish. So, really think about what's the influences that you're letting in, and do you have tactics to actually let that stuff go? And we've got some really fun ones in our pockets, but it's something that we do with our clients all the time, working with them.
Well, Heather, since you're on it, why don't you share a tactic with us in terms of how you let those things go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Okay. Sure. Let's do it. I don't have the reverse alphabet there, but the idea is to get your mind focused on something else and not a pattern that you normally recognize. So we actually have a cheat sheet that has the alphabet, but you're not reading it A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You're reading it all over the place. And you're reading it from right to left. So you're making your brain work even harder the other way. So it's a pattern disruption for your brain. And by the time you finish the alphabet, your anxiety should be down. Your heart rate should be down. And I think we have this sheet. We could probably share it with people.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that type of a technique where you're literally just focusing on one single thing, but not a normal pattern for what your brain can do automatically. And, we all can recite the alphabet. If you did that, it's not going to work because your brain sort of cheats a little bit because it knows what's coming next. You have to trick it so that it doesn't know what's coming next. And then you can ease into it. So yeah, that's just one of many that we have. I mean, David's on here. He's got like 1,000 techniques. John, you've got lots. And I think but these are, I think we've got time to share them in the next upcoming episodes too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I love that, reading the alphabet backwards or mixed match type of thing. And it really just comes down to breaking what you're going through at the moment, right? Because I think a lot of times we get stuck in, like, it's almost like we get stuck, like records when they used to skip, and they just kind of, like, for those of you that know what records are, these big plastic things that you put on a disc. For the most part, everybody knows what a record is. But it's like you get stuck in that groove and it doesn't go anywhere, right? And that's where our thoughts are. And these pattern interrupters are one of the ways. So, I do this. I know I'm sharing this on social, but when I get into arguments with people, or people get into arguments with me, the one thing I do is I take them off on a tangent and go somewhere else completely. And they're like, what were we arguing about? I'm like, I don't know. Like, because I'm intentional about it. The truth is, once you get stuck in that loop, you got to break out of the loop. And going out of the loop, and something as simple as, hey, did you see the pink elephant with purple tutu? What are you talking about? Like, that will take somebody out of, they'll think you're nuts, or they think I'm nuts when I say stuff like that. But it takes them out and it breaks them out of the loop, right? And then they try to go back into that loop. It's like, no, let's talk about something else. And then it's almost like you instantly forget what you're talking about because the loop is broken. You've moved on to something else, and you can let go of that emotion, that feeling. The one thing I like to share with people when they're like feeling that, when they're not feeling well, like they're in that space where they're feeling either a little anxious, a little stressed, a little nervous. I'm like, just take that feeling, imagine what that feeling looks like, give it a shape, a color, a size, a texture, tie it to a balloon and just let it float away. And just watch it float away until it's no longer in view. And like, just that simple tool is like, Oh,
Well, our
wow.
brains don't know what we're pretending to see and what we are actually seeing with our eyes. It's all the same. It's all images. It's all meaning to us in our brains. So that
Mm-hmm.
floating away, the balloon, it's just giving a visual for what you want to do with that thought process. And it's amazing. Our brains do amazing things for us. And if we are playful with how it works, and we can actually control it a lot better, both the conscious and the subconscious thoughts that we're
Yeah.
having.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But the one thing, going back to priming, so we are constantly being primed, right? So things around us, at a very unconscious level, we are being primed one way or another, right? And actually, there's a whole bunch of studies. So there's a lot of science. I know we talked about this before we got on the call. There's a lot of science that supports this. Something as simple as a warm cup and a cold cup. I don't know if you remember that example, right? So the study that was shared with us is they were doing an experiment to see how friendly somebody would be, right? So they have somebody enter into the elevator. Somebody's entering in behind them. In the first example, they're using a warm cup and they've got like a whole bunch of things. So they ask the person, "Can you hold the cup?" as they get into the elevator. And then when they get to their exit, they get the cup back and then they walk out of the elevator and the person continues up to the next floor. So they did this experiment with cold and hot water in the cup. And what they found is people who had a warm cup were 50% more likely to be friendlier to total strangers than those that were holding a cold cup.
Wow.
And the reason is because they felt safe. Like warmth is, comfort. It gives you a sense of safety, and it really opens you up. David's saying I'm being primed right now. Yes, love the energy. Thank you, David. But something as simple as that, like a cold cup, warm cup, and this is why a lot of people, they have that warm cup of coffee in the morning.
I think you've just given the reason why everyone should buy your coworker a coffee today. There's the call to action, right? Buy someone that you want to make friends with a coffee, and maybe even a total stranger. Maybe that's the give back that happens today. Oh my God, John.
It's those little things, right?
Yes.
And so now that we've shared this with everybody who's listening, you're aware. Now you know, right? So now there's also, and I think you touched on this, is you have the opportunity to prime yourself, right? So what are you consciously putting in here? And I was on a Instagram live thing last week with somebody, Nadia Wellness. So if you're listening, Nadia, thank you for letting me be a part of that. But we were talking about, music, like lyrics in the songs, right? Like what kind of lyrics and songs are they making you feel great about yourself? Are they, giving you heartbreak? Or are they, making you angry and upset? Like there's different songs out there, right?
And music can take you into a time warp like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It is like instant, that. Right? And I was listening to songs from 1994 yesterday. And in 1994, there was a lot of stuff happening for me. I don't even know how it was in 1994, but I was a little bit younger than I am right now. And, as you go through certain phases in your life, songs anchor you to those phases, right?
Yeah.
And immediately I started feeling all these emotions. I was like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, oh yeah, I remember what was happening when I was listening to this song or this song or this song. So we are constantly being primed and anchored. Like all this stuff is happening around us. So this is why you got to be really consciously aware of what it is you're listening to.
Well,
what it is sorry.
We're going to run out of time, John. So I just want to do, I think I've got a good activity for all of us to be playful with this for the weekend is pick a word, pick any positive word that is going to enhance your life. Something like beauty, something like energy, playfulness. You pick the word, it doesn't matter. Write it on a cue card or a piece of paper, use some colored markers if you've got them, and just take a look at it for 30 seconds and put it somewhere in your house that you'll see it, or take it with you from room to room. Just do that today. And then notice how that word influences and impacts the things you see, the things you feel, and the things you hear. You're going to hear the word more often. You're going to see things through the eyes of that word. And you're probably going to take action or decisions that are about that word. So just pick your own word. And I can't wait for, I'm not here on Monday with everyone because I will be in Morocco. But John, maybe you can ask everyone to share what their words were and what showed up for them. Because I think there's a really good call to action, and you're priming your brain for all the positivity that you deserve this weekend.
Yeah.
Ooh, strength. Excellent. I love that, Dakota.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, and Susan, she was saying she's got an inspirational playlist, play mix, which is amazing. These are things like, these are those little activities, those little things that we can introduce into our lives to make them better, to make us better, and to really make the world around us better. So, no, thank you. Great activity. So one word, you're putting it around the house. Mine's going to be courage. I'm going to take courage, and I'm going to put that everywhere today.
I see a lion showing up for you someday, some part today.
You know, I do have a lion shirt, so maybe I'll put that on this afternoon.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
See, your choice of clothing has already been impacted. I love it. I love it. This is proof right there.
All right. So I have to pick okay, good. Susan, you're going to pick a word as well. Powerful. I think that's the word.
Yeah.
There you go. Wow. Excellent. All right. So we are at time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on Friday with us. David, Susan, Dakota. Hey, thank you for participating and speaking to us in the chat. This is the one thing we love as well, that engagement and interaction with everybody. This is your conversation as much as it is Heather and I's. So thank you for being a part of this today. And we're going to wish everybody a fantastic weekend. Take care.
John,
and Heather, safe travel.
Thank you. The next 2 weeks are on your LinkedIn profile. So for anybody watching, go see John, 8:40 Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yes. And actually, I will. Yeah. No, I got a surprise for people who are going to be tuning in on Wednesday, because it's going to be good. All right. Everybody have an amazing weekend. See you all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.